if you've played the first, let's say, 5 or so generations of Pokemon in-game, then there's a good chance that there's a glitch or two that you remember fondly. I don't know if there are any glitches in the Gen 6 or later games. I don't think so, but I know like through Gen 5 there are. Anyway, if you played Gen 1, then the most famous example is, of course, Missingno, and a lot of people have a lot of fun with that. My personal favorite glitch is Generation 4's Acid Rain. Now, if you've played Generation 4 in-game, and you've played Generation 4 competitively on simulators, then it is totally understandable if you have no idea what I'm talking about. Because you're not going to encounter Acid Rain while on your journey to beat the Elite Four. You know, that's almost certainly not going to happen. And on the simulators, you know, the glitch was never incorporated. I wonder why. If you don't know why it wouldn't be that way, then you're about to find out. So, if you played Gen 4 on Wi-Fi, though, there is a good chance you know exactly what I'm talking about. And even if you're not a cool person who played Gen 4 on Wi-Fi, then I'm going to bless you with the knowledge of this most delightful of glitches. So, what is Acid Rain? Well, I don't purport to be an expert on exactly how the glitch works in its entirety, because it is a complicated one. However, I do remember precisely how the glitch works in practice when you're playing a lot of OU on Wi-Fi in Gen 4. So, the most common occurrence is, you know, in simplified terms, Latios or Rotom get sent out, and then they switch out of T-Tar or Scizor while Sand is active. Sand has to be active, that's important. And then they get KO'd by that pursuit while switching out, and Sand is active, right? You're about to see it in this battle, so don't worry if you can't follow along just by the verbal examples. So then what happens is effectively Sandstorm hits twice and Rain is in effect. And it's really, really weird. And the glitch is more complex than that, but in practice of how it usually wound up happening, it's about to happen here, by the way, for those not looking at their screens, then for the way it usually happened, that's as simple as it was. Sand up, so like here, Rotom is about to switch out of T-Tar, and Sand is up, obviously, because it's a T-Tar. So it could switch out of a Scizor if Sand wasn't up, or if no weather was up, because weather is the prerequisite, except for rain, weirdly enough. But if a weather is active, that includes effects like Trick Room and Uproar, believe it or not. I have the Bulbapedia article, we'll check that in a second. But the way that it was back in those good old Wi-Fi days, and that it likely would be if we were to incorporate Acid Rain on Showdown, like a couple of, like some awesome people would, and then Pokemon would get Pursuit KO'd while Sand is up, and while switching out and Sand is up, and then again Sandstorm hits twice and Rain is in effect, and you're wondering, well, how does that work? So you're about to see. So observe here as this Rotom, which was used with an action replay code, because Rotom is illegal on Wi-Fi, or it reverts, whatever. So it switches out, and then you see the little message that says go for it, like you've suddenly switched to the other trainer's perspective, because that's how it looks like on Wi-Fi. Okay, now observe. Suddenly, like, where's the Rain in this scenario before, right? If we go back a turn, then T-Tar is switching into Rotom. Rotom did not use Rain Dance on the switch. He used Shadow Ball. So, you know, why would Rain suddenly be in effect? But Rotom has been... And I'll leave the link to all the videos and Bulbapedia article I'm using in this video in the pinned comment, by the way. So, yeah, so where's the Rain suddenly coming from? But, look, Rain, it continues to fall. Continues, yeah. So, and Rain continues to fall, and then it says Infernape is buffeted by the Sandstorm. So that's Sand number 1. And then Sand number 2 is regular old Sandstorm. And Infernape is buffeted by the Sandstorm. So that's pretty much how it works. And you wonder, well, the Rain, like, is it just for show? Is it just a double Sandstorm? Well, no, the Rain is actually in effect, and we can see it here because Infernape's going to go for a Swords Dance. And, oh, that's, of course, another thing, that with this, with just this doubled Sand, then Sand immune Pokemon are not affected by it. There are variations of Acid Rain where Sand-affected Pokemon are affected by the Acid Rain. Some really hilarious examples, actually. But those are not the most common ones, because the most common one, Latias Rotom get pursued, and then things that take Sandstorm take double Sandstorm, and Rain is in effect. It's really, yeah. And that's another important thing. The Acid Rain will go away if T-Tar switches back in, because then it's going to set up the Sandstorm again. So the regular Sandstorm will replace the Acid Rain. So Infernape has an SD boost, and it's going to Fire Punch Gliscor, and it's going to do, well, probably not going to KO because Fire Punch is really weak. But SD Life Orb Fire Punch on a crit brings Gliscor down to 83. Now, even a physically defensive Gliscor would have, you know, taking that little from a +2 Life Orb crit Fire Punch, and in Generation 4, or the current Generation 4, then Gliscor was not running even so much as an Impish nature. It was running Jolly, like, max speed to speed tie with other Gliscors. So, +2 crit doing that little is like, yeah, Rain is in effect. So that's pretty much how it goes with Acid Rain, and I think that's pretty much that video. So that's the simplified version of what's going to regularly happen. What else can happen? Well, if we look to Ubers, then here's not that one, but this one. Okay, so the scenario here, and I've used this video before because it's hilarious. So Wobbuffet has Encored a Lugia into Roost, and then Scizor's going to come in once Lugia's at -6 defense and Pursuit Trap it. And Sun is active because of Groudon, as you're about to see. So there, the Sunlight is strong, and now here comes Scizor, and Lugia's Encored into Roost. So the Wobbuffet Pursuiter combo is really good. So there's the Pursuit KO. Oh, and in case it went too fast, see, there's the, I'll pause it there. Lugia did attempt to switch out. So withdrew and Pursuit KO'd. And look what's about to happen as soon as Lugia switches out. Here comes Dialga, and Rain falls, Sand rages, and Sun. And neither of the two Pokemon are affected by it. Interesting. So now Sand is in effect too, but Sun is in effect as well. So this is what makes Ubers a trickier battleground, because the common OU version of Acid Rain is pretty simple. It's, you know, double Sand and you have Rain in the picture. Or sorry, doubly affected by Sand damage. So you're taking 12.5 per turn as opposed to 6.25. But here it's a lot more complicated. So here's Thunder taking Scizor out, and see, there's a 3 weather conditions again. And here comes Wobbuffet again. So Wobbuffet is, of course, affected by Sandstorm, so unlike Dialga, so it is going to be affected. So let's see what happens here. Dialga goes down, Mirror Coat. Thunder is 100% accurate because Rain is active, so it bypasses all accuracy checks. So Mirror Coat takes it down, and Hurt by Shadow Tag, 1 Sand. So Rain falls. Hurt by, that's also the activation message. It says that the Pokemon is hurt by its own ability if it's on your side, because in the other game, then it was just Infernape is affected by the Sandstorm. So, I remember we in the Wi-Fi days, then we didn't like 100% get like the ins and outs of it. Like the people who played Ubers on Wi-Fi, they were just like, oh yeah, that's kind of wild. Whereas in OU, then you kind of got used to it, just because there are different. Like we're never figuring out like, oh, does the Sun cancel out the Rain water boost and all that kind of stuff. It was a rare enough occurrence, but so yeah. And now we're gonna see Draco Meteor take Wob out, and now Latios is hurt by its Levitate. So I don't know why it says hurt by its Levitate there, and why Infernape was just doubly affected by the sand there. See, because can you leave me alone, please? Actually, that's important. I do have to get that. I shouldn't say that. So yeah, Rain continues to fall, and Infernape is buffeted by its Sandstorm. But the way I always remembered it is the hurt by its own ability activation message, as you see there. So yeah, so Dragon Pulse, Dialga is not affected by it, but there are instances where it is affected by it. where the steel types are affected by the acid rain, and we have one more video to get to, and the Bulbapedia article to. I think I get the general idea, because before I was just like, oh, I just remember how it worked in practice in OU. In Ubers and beyond, I don't know about that. So, yeah, it's funny to see even Arceus getting hurt by its multi-type. And, yeah. Okay, so those are the basic ones, right? So it seems fairly intuitive with the OU version is, hit by sand twice, and there's rain involved too, right? And with Ubers, it gets a little trickier. It's like, yeah, what's going on here? Is there, there's sun involved too, so you're getting hit by sand 3 times, one for each weather. But let me tell you, once hail gets involved, it's entirely different. So this is not an actual battle. This is an acid weather glitch test video that this guy put together. So this was right after what's the date on this video? January 4th, 2009. So this is not long after Platinum was released in Japan, because the Pokemon games used to be released not worldwide at the same time like they have been since Gen 6. It was in the Gen 4 days, it was, and before I think too, but I remember in the Gen 4 days it was released in Japan, 6 months later everywhere else. So that's why this is in Japanese. Now, there were a lot of players who played the battles in English with an English patch because they used flashcards, and so they got to read the text. Scizor used U-turn or whatever would be in English because that was easy enough to translate. But for this video, then this guy was just playing in Japanese because the English version didn't exist, and I guess he didn't have the flashcard yet. Anyway, so there you've seen Abomasnow set Hail up, and now Scizor is... Wait, so here Starmie tries to switch, and Scizor KOs it with Pursuit. So, what's going to happen? In comes Heatran. Heatran's not affected by sand, but what's that? So, let's try that again. So... Oh, I went forward by accident. So, Heatran comes in, and Heatran's not affected by sand, neither is Scizor, so... Are neither of them going to take any damage? Well, Rain? Oh, they both got hit. Sand? They both got hit. Sun? Also got hit. Hail? So, Hail, they got hit 4 times. How crazy is that? So, look where Scizor's HP starts as it KOs Starmie. And look where it ends after the acid rain. So Heatran got hit for 18.75% of its own health. Because leftovers recovered the 4th hit. So it was effectively... But it got hit 4 times first. Insane. So here's another fun thing. So observe how that cast form is just changing forms. Yeah, so that happens too. Cast form and Cherrim... In acid weather, they never stop changing form, so you literally have to turn the game off. Or, your Wi-Fi off, I guess, if you want to be pedantic about it. But yeah, just look how it keeps changing. Yeah, so, cast form, and if we were to re-release Acid Rain, or to release Acid Rain for the first time on simulators, then Cherrim and cast form would have to either be patched or, banned. Anyway, so that was one test. So the... idea there is, hey, look at that. Once hail is in the mix, then all 4 and this is corroborated by the acid rain article on Bulbapedia, and the dimensions aren't perfect right now, but no, we'll get back to it. But there's a priority of field effects or weather effects or pseudo weather effects that activate the sandstorm hit, quote unquote. And it goes hail, then sun, then sand, then rain. And it hurts after the animation. So, yeah, and if hail is involved, then even the steel types that are immune to sand get hit all 4 times, as you see there. It's pretty nuts. Yeah, also, yeah, so it's pursuing while there's... Well, I'll just list the weathers now. Trick Room, Gravity, Uproar, Fog, as in, this wouldn't happen in a competitive game, but, in-game. So Trick Room, Gravity, Uproar, Fog, Hail, Sun, Sand, and but not Rain. If you get that Pursuit Trap while Rain is active, then it's not going to trigger the glitch. But all the others, even Trick Room, even Gravity, even Uproar, even the in-game Fog, then that's going to, yeah. And that's going to get the glitch started. So here's another thing. Oh, there's some other really fun applications, by the way. So here we get back to Scizor pursuing Starmie again. Here comes Heatran. We're going to have that same quadruple hit by hail factor. And then, what happens with a Magic Guard Pokemon, by the way? Oh, nothing. Okay, cool. Yeah. So that's kind of going to give away the basic idea of what would happen if Acid Rain was allowed into OU, but we'll get back to that. It's not going to be a very long answer. Anyway, so yeah, Magikarp just completely unaffected. Yeah, as if Clefable needed to be better, but yeah. So stuff we're not really interested in happens. Oh, yeah. So here comes Golduck. Let's see how Cloud9 affects. Oh my God, what a prediction with Will-O-Wisp. Let's see how Cloud9 affects it. Oh, so the weather activates, but yeah, Cloud9 ignores Acid Rain. So very cool. So we can assume Airlock would do the same thing. So then, is Rain still active? Well, Surf is going to really wallop that Flygon. So, and that wasn't Life Orb, was it? No, I don't think so. No, it wasn't. So, certainly wasn't Specs. Well, I guess Specs or Rain are going to be effectively the same thing, but I think if it's Specs and Rain, then, well, you get my point. That I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to the good stuff, which is Walrein. Yeah, you're like, oh, what happens with Ice Body? Well, it's the complete opposite of getting affected 4 times. There's healed once, healed twice, healed 3 times, healed 4 times. Yeah, really fun stuff. So, yeah, that's pretty much all we need to see here. And then we skip to the end of the video where Cherrim comes out and does the exact same thing as Castform. So that, in essence, is Acid Rain. So, let's fix those dimensions. So here's the Bulbapedia page, again, linked in the comments. So there's some other interesting tidbits about Acid Rain that if a Pokemon is immune to both hail and sand, like the Mamoswine line, then it's immune to everything. So then there's a bunch of other stuff. Oh, Rain Dish works the same as Ice Body. Dry Skin is effectively the same. Solar Beam requires no charging but is weakened, which is really unique. So Weather Ball's type. I mean, this is all really fun, fascinating stuff. So yeah, it's real. So I'm sure what I would want to hear is what are some really fun potential competitive applications of this that aren't just, yeah, Clefable would be insanely broken and the whole metagame would be thrown into chaos. Because I guess Mamoswine gets pretty good in the Acid Rain metagame because you have a Pokemon that isn't Clef that is immune to all this crazy stuff. Do we see more Abomasnow? Do we see people going out of their way to activate this glitch? Yeah, I think it would be hard to make a team that goes out of its way to activate the most extreme forms of this glitch because, fitting Trick Room and Gravity and Uproar and Hail with Pursuit, or Sun, obviously, is going to be more trouble than it's worth. So realistically, I think what would happen is that players would be a lot less inclined to switch out and get Pursuit KO'd against Tyranitar, and because otherwise the glitch gets triggered and and then it could go the other way too, which is really interesting. It's like, oh, I better not Pursuit Trap this thing because my team can't handle Acid Rain if it gets activated, and that's really intense. So I think the effect is overall negative, not just because Clef is immune to everything and everything else gets KO'd in like 2 turns, but And it's not really even about a Walrein literally never dying, because you can just sit on Walrein with Clef, and running a Hail team with Abomasnow and Walrein is already impossible, you know, even when everything goes well. It's just generally not worth it. But I think the really unhealthy thing, in addition to Clef obviously, is the kind of... Because when you're using Pursuit, then you're trying to get rid of something that you really need gone, and this suddenly... It's already hard enough to Pursuit things reliably, but this extreme punish for it would really de-incentivize wanting to go for it, and that is a really, really big constraint to have, and what is already a difficult, constraining task, which is pursuing something that you need to have removed. So, yeah, there's so much silly stuff. But, yeah, I assume that Golduck wasn't Specs, by the way, because I don't know why they would do that and confuse it, so I assume Rain was in effect. Yeah, but that's the other thing, like, it doesn't, say, I guess it was Specs, or just Flygon is really weak and Golduck is really strong. I don't know. I'm not doing damage calc, so someone feel free to correct me. Also, if they know more about Acid Rain than I do, then you know, the only Acid Rain I really know is the one from OU Wi-Fi. So, but it's such a fun glitch. So, yeah, I assume that the way it works with Sun and Rain is that they kind of cancel each other out. So maybe I was just barking up the wrong tree in general, just because it seemed like that Surf did so much damage. But then I forgot, you know, Golduck's actually pretty strong and Flygon's kind of weak. So, yeah, it's... it's so silly. Like, even the fire move's getting weaker. It's so crazy. So, yeah, so please let me know if you have any ways you can get the glitch to activate reliably, because it does rely on you getting pursued while switching out. So, I mean, just stack as much Pursuit bait as you can on a team, and then how else do you know, how do you take advantage of it? That isn't just, oh, well, Clef obviously destroys everything, so Clef, and just make sure you don't lose to the few Pokemon that can withstand Clef, and yeah, so, yeah, like, even Breloom becomes even more important, not because it heals in Sand, because it doesn't heal, it heals in Sand, it doesn't heal in Acid Rain, but because it doesn't lose health in Acid Rain. And everything else loses a lot of health in regular OU Acid Rain. Regular OU Acid Rain would already, even if it was just the most simple version of the effect, like the one shown in the first video, in this video, then that would already be too much. Let alone the more extreme forms of it, that would just be horrible to have in Ubers, and I'm sure there'd be some dumb stuff happening in UU and NU as well. Maybe even, actually in Little Cup, it'd definitely be stupid, because Snover is really good there. Oh, yeah, Acid Rain, Little Cup sounds, awful. Yeah. So, oh, and another cool thing is that you can run Thunder, because Rain makes it, you can run Thunder over T-Bolt, because Rain makes it never miss. So, yeah, so that's Acid Rain Gen 4. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you find some kooky ways to get some fun, goofy uses out of this ridiculous glitch. And hopefully one day we will have Acid Rain DPP OU on Showdown. Please make it happen. I don't know who needs to hear this to make it happen, but please do. Just make it a fun side meta game. Let's see just how chaotic and crazy it can get. It would be dumb, but hey, also, then again, I've also forgot about the easiest way to deal with Acid Rain, which is just reset up the Sand. You know, you run T-Tar and Hippowdon, and then, you know, the Acid Rain goes away right away. Hey, what's the big idea? What's the big problem? You know, run more weather-changing moves just to counteract Acid Rain. So it probably wouldn't be that bad. It'd be bad, but, you know, breaking the metagame? Okay, yeah, probably. But, you know, I think we should be true to the cart, you know. That's why we break cart mechanics all the time by having freeze claw. Okay, I'm going off on a separate whole thing. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you next time.